Today, I'm joined by Representative Shedron Williams from District 122, representing Beaufort, Hampton, and Jasper Counties. Representative Williams, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this great memorial mentorist time. I think we have some great things that we can discuss today, and just to also allow you all to know my total support for education here in South Carolina.
Well, to start off with, as we build into that, we want to know a little bit about you. So if you would, tell me a little bit about your personal and professional background and how that shapes your views on the importance of education in this state.
Well, my personal background, my name is Shedron Williams. I'm married. I live here in Hampton with my committed wife, Cassandra Williams, who's a principal. For 28 years, she's been in the educational system. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College, Atlanta. I attended public school here in Hampton County as well. Graduate 1985 at Wade Hampton High School. I graduated from Morehouse College, political science, public administration. So I returned home over 22 years ago to do what I would consider as help. I actually came home for a 3-month vacation, but when I got here, I saw the need. And my first public service endeavors that I did was I actually headed up an HIV and AIDS prevention program for 20 years. And dealt with over 1,200 individuals directly, HIV positive between Hampton, Beaufort, Jasper, and Colleton counties. And after that of 20 years, within that, I decided in 2010 to get a little deeper, and I ran for county council here in Hampton County. I served there 2 terms through 2018. In 2016, during my second term, I was elected by my peers on council as chairman, making me the first African-American chair since 1867. So, yeah. Also, during the HIV programs for 12 years, I was working in all of the schools, all of the counties that I mentioned, in their school system, providing pregnancy prevention and healthy lifestyle education, outside of just being a mentor and working with various other groups within the school system. I'm a true believer in education. Any chance I get to make something happen, I do, and I will continue.
Well, as someone who's married to a lifelong educator and a school administrator, I'm sure you've heard about South Carolina's teaching shortage crisis. And
Exactly.
our difficulty holding on to teachers. We're losing them by the thousands every year. From your perspective as a member of the General Assembly, what steps does our state need to take in order to better retain and recruit teachers?
Fund it adequately. I fought for it this year. I fought on the floor to bring back the steps. Last year, we fought for an increase. I was one of the ones that stood with individuals that came to the State House. The money is there. There's $760 million just sitting there outside of budgetized items, COVID monies. I think we really need to fund our system. I do want to say this. I fought for full retirement for our teachers, and the way we had it written, we had to write it so it would include teachers, law enforcement, firefighters, whereas once you retire, you should not be penalized because you're retired and can come back and only make so much money. So I did introduce a bill that teachers would be paid their full retirement, and if they're working full-time, they should also be paid full-time. It got held up in committee with the graciousness and total support of my supporters. I'm going to refile the bill again next year. I think we will gain some more momentum. There were some, individuals who did not feel it should have come out of committee, not probably personal. It was just a lot of bills that came in at the end. And even when we went back in on the emergency sessions, we fought again to bring the steps back and to also, look at some additional monies outside of the additional times that the teachers would have without children during the day. But again, we didn't have the numbers, but we will continue to support education, fight for our teachers, our administrators, and our students to make sure that they have what they need to succeed. Because, I made a comment on the floor, and I don't think I made any enemies, but when we broke for lunch that day, I wasn't one of the ones that everybody enjoyed. I asked the lawmakers on the floor that day. I said, we're sitting here talking about we'll do this later, but these are the individuals who teach our children every day. They never tell us we're going to teach your kids later. They do it. They step to the plate. They step in and they stand with our children. They do the jobs that a lot of us can't do. I hear teachers, when I'm out during this time, when are we going to allow these kids to go back to school? I can't do it. You have teachers trying to teach virtual. You have teachers who are face-to-face right now. We have a shortage of teachers. So you're pulling from here, pulling from there, and it's not right. And in other words, they're committed. Let's be committed to them. So I did ask the question, how many members on this floor have walked the hallways or sat in a classroom and read a book over the last year? I had some not good looks, but you have to be in it. You have to know it. And it's not just because of my relationship connecting to the school system. Even if my wife was not there and was just the luxury of being a stay-at-home wife, I'm committed to education because I came from a system where we had educators who really cared about you and made sure that you got your work. In my community, if you did something wrong, you got chastised before you got home, and when you got home, you got it again. I came from a body of teachers in the Hampton School District 1 education system, was that they would even give a phone call to your mom. I think he needs to stay at the school for a little while because he needs to do this, or he didn't finish the assignment. I think he ran through it. Take this test over. And I appreciate it to the day.
Well, you and I have been talking a lot over the last few days about a challenge that you've had down in Hampton around broadband access. And we know that that's become a huge educational issue in our state. The pandemic has exacerbated that, but that's been an issue even before the pandemic. And it touches on the struggle our state has with achieving educational equity for all kids, regardless of zip code. We know the state Supreme Court says that's something that the General Assembly is supposed to be achieving, but we also know we haven't achieved it. So in your view, what does the General Assembly need to do to ensure that every child in South Carolina has access to an equal and equitable education, regardless of where they live?
Okay, again, I filed a bill my first year, broadband, because I knew my constituents, when I left Hampton to go to Columbia, that was an issue and it was brought to my attention. So I filed a bill. It got through the House, but it ended up being stuck over on the Senate side. However, then the bill came back through again with just some additional wordings, that what I introduced was make sure every child, every household with a child has broadband access. And if you notice in the budget, the original budget, we requested $100 million, which would have pretty much covered it. My bill that I introduced, I asked for the state to cover it for 5 years. However, we have to accept what we get to a point, and we have to continue to build. And our large corporations that come into our counties, we give them fee and lieu's. Sometimes we don't charge them fees. Let's make them come to the table. If you're bringing businesses into our area, we need you to be a partner with our educational system. Help fund these programs, or you make sure these programs are in your areas. There's various ways that you can make sure we have broadband outside of pulling fibers. There are breakers you can put on poles. The last day we had in a special session, we had Santee Cooper to agree that we could use poles to put up the small modular so that it would, go out. And I thought that was one of the best ideas, because we have to listen. In today's life, you get what you pay for. And we asked for $100 million. The General Assembly again, they only gave us 50 million. We fought. As a matter of fact, I was one of the individuals that went to the well, and we hammered it for hours to ask for this other $50 million. And they came up with terminology saying that this is not a reimbursable item, so we can't use this COVID money. Again, we'll do it later. The money is in Columbia. We can do this. We should, as members of the General Assembly, step to the plate, fund these programs, fund broadband, and just make it part of a recurring fund in our budgets every year. Let's make sure that we can compete. And we were talking about the teachers and retention earlier. I want to say this. There's a situation where Hampton Schools 1 and 2 recently consolidated. They've been trying this for years. When I came to the school system, that was a talk. You have one district with just over 600 students. And there was a situation where eventually it was going to have to. Here in Hampton 1, you have over almost 2,200 students. So you have to look at the formula, and we were able to get the consolidation done. Myself, single-handedly, no, I won't say single-handedly, working with the other members of the General Assembly, but I requested some monies. And I personally played a major part in getting school $10 million to initially begin the works, the studies, and all of the good things to get it going. And we were able to get that. And even during this pandemic, and we had to make a quick decision about these computers and MiFi boxes. And, we got 2 school districts getting ready to merge. We were in the middle of this and that. And I personally had to make some calls to be able to realize some temporary funds so that these school districts can purchase these computers and not use all of their reserve funds. So it's items like that I think truly shows that I'm a committed person. My heart and soul goes out to allowing our future proper and adequate education and outlets, because you have to have that. You have to mingle both of them together. The outlets and being able to take AB courses, technical college courses, which all of our schools are centered around areas like that. In Jasper, we have ACE, we have USC Bluffton, Beaufort, we have Technical College in the Low Country. Here in Hampton, we have the Howard Munyon Center, which is a part of the Technical College of the Low Country. And these systems have worked with our high schools to allow our children to be able to advance before they even receive their diplomas, because the world is changing. I'm a true believer in what we consider as the norm. I pray all of my boys have gone on great colleges, South Carolina State, Hampton University, and my son 16 here, his desire to be a neurosurgeon. He's been studying and is on his own. Last year, we were able to take him up to Harvard for 2 weeks and worked on some things, but that's their desire. We have children in our area who does not have that desire. We have children who want just to get a trade, 2-year colleges, totally support that as well. Now we're seeing industries coming into our area. I helped land one of the largest job announcements here in South Carolina with a new ag business that's coming to Hampton that's going to employ 1,500 permanent jobs. It's going to change the face of the Low Country. And a week later after that, working with the Beaufort and Jasper delegation, we announced a new river port, which is going to be the backside of the Jasper port that's going to eventually come. Prior to that, though, over the next couple of months, you're going to be seeing the growing and agreement of up to 10 new companies going to be landing in the river port. That's going to be additional 3,500 jobs. So we're looking at building school, but then I'm telling General Assembly members and these school board members, we might better hold up and take another assessment, because you're talking about over 5,000 jobs. We're talking about families coming. So, that's going to be a thing. But I just think that we need to do what's right when no one's looking.
Yeah. Well, that job readiness piece that you were touching on is a big element of the so-called education reform package that's been working through the General Assembly the last 2 years. In a prior response, you talked about teachers having time without children during the day. That's been part of that education reform package. So that's a huge comprehensive piece of legislation that is likely to come up again in the coming session. Whether it's the House version, the Senate version, S-419, from your perspective, within that large, sweeping, comprehensive reform package, what are the key elements that have to happen for South Carolina schools to be able to prepare students for the new jobs that you're talking about coming to our state?
Teacher retention, providing adequate facilities, which we're building great schools, and thinking about renovating schools or just building new Taj Mahal schools. And I want to hit on that because we're looking at programs that the governor did set some monies aside last year for schools who would consider consolidation, and Hampton County schools will get a good shape. Jasper County just finished a K school there, and it's fabulous. Beaufort County, early ed, early college schools, we're doing good. But my thing, as a single member, I think we need to make sure our teacher retention, the facilities, broadband, and just open opportunities. But I just want to expand on the teacher retention. So now we have an opportunity. Do we spend 70 to $90 million into a brand new Taj Mahal school? We have teachers or teacher shortage because we're still struggling in this low country, starting out paying our teachers $33,000, $34,000 a year. Or do we renovate to up to par? I mean, with the finance that you would think it was brand new, or do we build a magnet school for your 11th and 12th? Or my picture is, let's build, let's spend 50, 60 million, and let's somehow, if we can formulate the other 20, $25 million over the next few years, let's pay our teachers. Let's take $20 million, let's bring our start pay up to $40,000 like some of the larger counties and communities doing. Let's make sure our administrators get paid, and we cannot forget our support services inside our school system, who clean our buildings, who make sure our children, while they're doing their work, they have to look to the left and right sometimes, but they are part of our education system. They're just not employees in those buildings. So we have to take care of all of our employees in the school system. So let's take a look at, in the formula of what's going to be important. Do we continue to build these fabulous buildings, or do we build nice buildings and really take care of our teachers and the staff there? Because we can do this. We can bring our start pay up to $40,000, $42,000. In the larger Richland counties and Greenvilles, they don't get to just pick and choose what teachers they want, because the low country is a beautiful place. People want to come here. But again, you get what you pay for. So, and our seasoned teachers who've been there for years, we have to take care of them as well. When I say staff, everybody gets a bump. Let's move this thing up. We bring in all these jobs. We have all this land that's getting ready to be developed. We have a beautiful place. We have beautiful, smart people. We have strong boards. So let's move forward with, again, adequate pay, teacher retention, get that out of the way. Our infrastructure, just not to say broadband, our infrastructure, social life, and let's keep moving, because for years it's been upstate, but I do want to say this now, it's low country's time.
Well, that one other topic I want to make sure to hit is, earlier you were talking about use of COVID relief dollars and what they could go to and what they couldn't, especially around broadband. But one pot of money that the General Assembly didn't have was the governor's Education Emergency Relief Fund. His GEAR fund is $48 million, and he wanted to put $32 million into private school scholarships. Now, the state Supreme Court has invalidated that. But the governor has said he wants the coming session of the General Assembly to create a permanent version of his Safe Grants private scholarship program out of public dollars. What is your position on that if the governor comes to the General Assembly with that request?
Well, the governor and I, we have a strong relationship. He's called on me and I've called on him. My take is public education funds should be spent on public education.
There you go. Well, we've covered a lot of ground on education policy, but is there anything that we haven't addressed that you want to make sure that our members know before they vote this November?
Well, I think that first of all, let's be safe in voting. I think we need to do that because we are still dealing with a pandemic that they have predicted that the colder weather will be worse than what we saw during the heat. And that has done a dramatic, a devastating blow to our communities. In Jasper, we lost a 28-year teacher to COVID. And to be honest with you, we probably have lost more people than they're just saying and was not directly related to in terms of what we see as the norm of being part of the COVID once you're infected with this. But I think we need to know that public education is a great way to go. I think we need to continue to fight and vote for public education, vote for individuals who believe in public education. I do not have anything against private school systems. If you can pay for it, pay for it. But public education funds should be spent on public education. And I'm a true believer in it. And again, like I said, any education, all education is very important. But let's direct the funds where they were earmarked and collected and graduated for.
Well, Representative Williams, we appreciate you taking the time today to speak and share with our members. And we thank you for your continued service to our state and wish you all the best this fall.
Okay, I thank you. And I thank all of my educators. Continue to do as you do. And we appreciate everything that you do day in and day out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.